So I found this early access game on Steam and I really wanted to share it with you guys, and if I can, maybe draw some attention towards it. It's called Holdfast, Nations at War. I mean, as you probably know, that's the title of this video. So let's get right into this with the gameplay. So, have you ever wondered what it would be like to be in straight-up colonial-style warfare between the French and British forces? Probably not, but this game does that in a fun and realistic-ish way. In this game, you use muskets and 18th century pistols and swords, and you shoot, and then because... well, you know, whenever people think of colonial warfare, there's always that whole, you know, you gotta rip the gunpowder and you pour it in, then you put the bullet in, and you just boil it down to, oh, that's not fun, we shouldn't make a game about that. But this game does it, and you know, it does the ridiculous one-shot, wait a bit before you can shoot again thing, which honestly creates a surprising level of strategy. You know, you are making the tactical choice, are you gonna take this shot or are you gonna save it? Because if you miss, you are screwed. You might as well be dead. Now, I can say the maps are designed in a very smart way to encourage teamwork. They're not like huge open slogs, I mean, some of them are, but mostly you'll be fighting your way across a narrow bridge or like a highly covered area that has like a bunch of cannons pointed at it, and there's like, you know, it's a literal uphill battle. So as one person, you have one bullet with a 10 to 15 second reload time, and you have a melee ability. Now the bullet kills someone in one hit and melee kills in two. So if you charge an enemy position with just one person, you will be instantly shot down. But if you charge with 5, 10, 15, 30 people, you might die, sure, but they can't kill all of you, so there's this strength in numbers. This creates for the first time that almost unattainable ideal of a realistic sort of warfare with actual strategy to it in a first-person shooter. I was surprised because people will actually group up for a mass charge because, you know, you have to. You can't go in alone. And it's those moments that really make the game so much fun, just storming the enemy line with 50 other people, cannonballs flying past, 5 people dying in an explosion as you just keep running. It's really fun. To add on to this, the game utilizes voice chat, so there will be that guy saying, "Charge the line, charge the line," and then he gets blown up by a cannonball mid-sentence and his mic gets cut because chat is proximity based, which is ingenious, it's hilarious, but also really intense. So it's really amazing in a way to see some of these battles play out. If you get close enough to the enemy, you will actually hear their voice chat. So as the British, I was charging with like this huge group of people when this guy had the brilliant idea to climb up the rocks along the wall, and you can hear one of the guys on the French team freaking out, "They're on the wall, they're on the wall." It's fantastic. Another thing is how freaking huge these servers can become. 126 people playing on one multiplayer server is just amazing. Watching videos from like the gameplay trailers, I actually thought it was like Total War or some strategy game because I didn't know something like this was possible on such a large scale. Now the game seems to have elements of Verdun and chivalry with a lot of Star Wars Battlefront, the original, thrown in there. It's got the Verdun one-shot kill mechanic, the chivalry shouting as you charge into battle, and then the Battlefront capturing of objectives and first and third person point of view. So it's really taking the best elements from those games. You know, this game has a class structure to it. However, the classes don't really have much of a description, and some of them feel kind of samey, but it's kind of funny because you can play like a drummer guy marching into battle, or you can be like a flag bearer. It's really interesting to see how it plays out, and I want to see how they evolve on it. One of my suggestions though is that there's a few classes like the rifleman, or I think it's like marksman, that are really like just objectively the best class. Like the only downside to them is that they die with one melee hit, which isn't even that big of a deal. But the problem is that there's only 10 of them allowed per team, so what I would suggest is that they look at Star Wars Battlefront 2, you know, the one from 10 years ago, and look at how that handled like the stronger classes where you actually had to get a certain amount of kills before you had access to the higher level classes. Like you actually have to prove your worth before you get to play the best class in the game. So the classes need work, and another big thing to touch on is that the game has no tutorial. So you are essentially just going to be thrown into this colonial setting and expected to just go. Now I find this kind of fun as it lets you discover the game's mechanics on your own. However, I can see how some people might want to learn how to swim before they get into the pool. For me though, I just ran around. I actually ended up behind French lines as a British soldier. I wasn't able to do much, but I felt like, you know, I was at least a distraction. Now, this game just came out like a week ago, so it's still pretty early in early access. I mean, there aren't that many maps, and many of the servers are empty. Not a lot of people are playing this, and that's kind of why I'm making this video. I want people to play it. It's a good game. I wanted to talk about the other game modes besides the basic capture that this game has, but they aren't very full that often. I played a bit of the naval combat, which is surprisingly pretty fun and realistic, but it really needs some tweaks because the fun that I was having was more I was just making my own fun. Like I was the captain of this little 2-cannon boat, and I was basically just Assassin's Creeding my way around. You know, these French guys would pull up in a rowboat and I would jump down with my sword, cut one of them down, shoot the other one, and then jump off. So there's some elements I really like about this, especially how you can just jump off the ship and go onto somebody else's, and like that's just a thing that you can do. While I was steering my ship, I would pick up some stragglers left in the water, and basically they were like, oh, we serve this ship now, we're gonna help you, we'll be your crew. So I was just picking up crew members out of the ocean, and I can see this being a lot of fun with more people, but there's not that many people. There's also a naval capture mode, which I feel like they're trying to decide which direction to take the game. Like, do they want to go naval combat? Do they want to go like ground combat? Or do they really want to do both? I'd prefer both because I feel like naval combat is like, it has a lot of potential in this game, because there's this game mode, like I was just saying, it's naval capture, where you take the ships and you attack an island fortification, and it's like you're storming the beaches, but literally no one was on the server. So like it was just, I ran up to the fort and I shot one dude, and I captured the base and I won. So I can't really speak for it. If more people were playing though, I think it would be a lot better. I think it would be a lot more fun. It might even be one of the best like multiplayer like ship experiences out there right now. And don't get me wrong, there's like full servers, like you will be able to play with other people. Like I'm not saying like everything's empty, but like part of like the naval gameplay, like more people are playing that, but there's some servers that are just empty and you're not going to get to play every game mode yet. Now moving on to the presentation. So this game looks pretty good. I actually think the graphics are really nice. There's a lot of little details that are really nice. Like if you look down, you'll see your body and you'll be holding your musket, and it's like, oh, that's a nice touch. And then there was one time I was running into battle, and this bird came down and landed on a little wall, and it made the world just a little bit more credible. And then there's the cannonballs that fly past your head, and it's just, there's a lot of good things set up here. There's player collisions, so people feel like they're actually in the world. You can't just go through somebody. Again, the cutting of mics when people die is really funny and also intense. The authenticity of the setting is never really questionable. It keeps true to what it's doing. You know, it's not like pulling out submachine guns in colonial times. No, you have a musket, you have cannons, that's what you're dealing with. The sound design, I didn't notice anything, so I guess it's doing its job. The only things I can think of that are bad right now is the reloading animation. It's just, God, it's awful. It's not correct. Your hand like goes through the musket, and it's what you're seeing all the time. Fix the reload animations. And also, this goes for both gameplay and presentation, but it seems like some things need to be tweaked a little bit. Like, reloading in general feels like maybe it takes just a second too long, and then loading up the cannons just isn't really fun on ships. I think it needs some work. Now let's move on to the temporary score, the temporary opinion. This is early access. Things are subject to change. Months from now, it might not even be the same game. So while Holdfast Nations at War, which is an annoyingly long title, seriously, here, let me help you. Fixed it. While it is an early access game, it is still asking for $20, and you might be wondering if it's worth that much. Well, the professional score. What would someone neutral think of Nations at War? Well, it's got those realistic mechanics that can be pretty annoying for the average player and might become too aggravating if the game wasn't so fast-paced. I mean, it throws you right into the action and forces you to have a positive interaction with other players. Even though it's an early access and doesn't have a lot of content, it has some incredibly fun moments and only leaves you wanting more. The neutral person, in my opinion, would think that this game is a 4 out of 5 good. Now the personal score, what do I think? Well, I think it needs more players and a bit more content. The game is a lot of fun, but it needs to be fleshed out more, which, I mean, for it only coming out a week ago into early access, that's a really good sign. I wanted to give this game a 3 because based on principle, I don't like to give games with lower content a 4 or above. However, I haven't even played for that long, and each playthrough has some fantastic or incredibly funny moment, so I have to give it a 4 out of 5 good as well, bringing the total score to actually an 8 out of 10 awesome game. This game is just purely fun and is doing so many things right. I would definitely pick it up if I was you. $20 is a bit expensive for an early access game, but I think I can guarantee you won't regret your purchase. It feels like a large beta for a $60 game, so I feel like $20 is kind of fair. I don't know when this game will go on sale, but it probably won't be on there for a while because it just came out, so if you want, you could probably wait a few months and it will be on sale for a cheaper price, like maybe $15. But that's the end of this video. If you liked this review, please like it and tell me what you want me to review next. If you disliked it, well, dislike and throw some constructive criticism my way. I'm always looking to improve my videos. Just keep in mind, though, that an actual person will be reading your comments. I read all the comments, so don't be too harsh. I'm Sir Neck. Subscribe for more content if you want. I'll see you next time.